obviously the next big job, an incredibly responsible job, carrying a satchel for President Herbert Walker Bush. Tell us about that.
In 1988, I'm sorry, in 1990, I was sitting off. I was a #2 guy on a ship out of Miami, and I had the opportunity. They solicited people who wanted to work in the White House, and they pulled 5 of us together and sent us up to D.C. for a couple of days of interview. I was fortunate enough to get selected to have that job. It was an operational job. You carried the emergency satchel for the president. You had the ability to assist him if need be in conducting nuclear actions as a nation. So that satchel's with the president. It was within 2 minutes of him, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard is 5 A's. We all took turns. 24-hour duty. Wherever the president was, you got to be. And a real honor and a pleasure, most importantly, to work for someone like President H.W. Bush, who was the finest man I've ever met and I'll probably ever meet.
Well, tell us about the first time you met him in the White House, and tell us about some of the things that you remember about your journey with him.
He, you know, you spent about 3 months getting trained up, worked up, practicing to do all the things you need to do if there was an emergency. And then you finally get your first day of duty, and they set it up such that you get to shake his hand. And of course, it's a pretty anxious and exciting day. But he was always gracious and a man of just extraordinary integrity, and someone you wanted to be around. But and then with that, you got to do whatever, you know, you had to be part of his work, and whether it be overseas travel or just daily activities in the White House. You're part of the entourage that protects him. The military takes care of his travel, takes care of his food, takes care of just about everything in his life, other than the Secret Service guys who are also personal protection and take care of the limousines and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm. As we remember some of those times with him, can you share some of the memories that you recall in particular?
I was there 90 to 93, and that was, you know, after President Reagan, you know, say won the Cold War. The war was won during his period. The transition happened in the early 90s, and had the opportunity, for example, to be over in Prague, Czechoslovakia, with President Havel, who was overseeing the transition to a democratic nation. We had a chance to stay at the ambassador's residence there, who happened to be Shirley Temple Black at the time, an incredible woman who had an Oscar, of course, from her childhood days, but was also an incredible ambassador. And President Bush spoke to 1 million people, nearly a 1 million-person crowd in Prague Square. And that sort of incredible time in the country's history, which he oversaw and I just happened to be a part of, but it was very exciting.
And the travels took you far and wide, I guess, to the Middle East. And
there was also the first Gulf War was conducted during that time, and so we, as part of that, there was travel to Saudi Arabia, there was travel to the various places in the Mideast, and had the opportunity to watch President Bush take the victory salute from General Schwarzkopf on Constitution Avenue. Wow. On that day of the parade, all quite a great day for our nation. Great man there, that's for sure.
And moving on, some royalty, I guess, you met as well. Had that pleasure?
Again, wherever you traveled overseas, you got to the arrival ceremony you were a part of. So whether it be the Queen of Denmark or the President of Mexico or Colombia or Japan or Tokyo, whichever country that you were in, you get to be part of that cycle.
And we've seen, you know, the bodyguard films on TV and that sort of thing, and here we are jogging with President Bush and the Secret Service.
When the president ran, you get to run, you know. And he enjoyed his exercise, and he also was a social kind of thing that he would get out with people. President Clinton ran as well. I had the chance to spend 6 months with him, and he ran a little bit better than President Bush did.
Okay. Well, that was you were part of that transition, and that must have been a very interesting, unique experience going from one party to the next. And
yes, it was, and I'd like to make a point about that. It's underscoring how great our nation is, but You know, there's a hard-fought campaign, national campaign. We're going through it again right now. We've got many people running for president. I guess Chris Christie just announced today. But when the campaign's over and it's time for inauguration day, I had the opportunity to go up with President H.W. Bush in the limo behind his and watch him get escorted out, and he got on a Marine Corps One, the helicopter, and he took off. And then President and Mrs. Clinton, President-elect and Mrs. Clinton, walked up the Capitol steps. I happened to be there, and I gave him his little code card for his responsibilities. And then he walked out and took the oath of office. And to see that smooth transition of power to the most important job of the world is quite an impressive thing, and I think it underscores just how great our nation is.
Indeed. And your family in the Oval Office, I guess, with President Clinton.
That was the last day of duty there. It was way out the door, and you get to come in, and the president gives you a medal and says thank you very much, and you go on your way.